Today I'm with Doug and Teresa Schleifer. They are unique in my food stories. They're both chemists. They practice chemistry in many ways. They are both vegetarians, health vegetarians, not political. They know food. They've spent a number of years eating the menu: fish, meat, bread, all the wrong things by many people. And today we're going to talk about their conversion. Again, they are health vegetarians. This is Doug and this is Teresa. They brought with them their favorite cookbooks and the stack of their favorite cookbooks. Not all vegan, not all vegetarian. We'll get into that. Let me ask you something. Doug, your specialty is water. In today's society, worldwide, water is the most important thing for humankind. I read that all the time. Do you have an opinion about the safety of water, not just locally but worldwide?
Most water is safe. It depends on the things we measure in the water. We get to measure to lower and lower and lower levels. So some people want to say it's not safe, but it's only because we're measuring lower and lower and lower the quantities of ingredients in the water. Because water, we all know, is H2O, hydrogen and oxygen, but there's a lot else in there, minerals and so on, that's in the water.
Minerals in water?
Yes, definitely.
Do we take them out, leave them alone? What do we do to purify?
Some minerals we take out, some we leave in. Too many minerals of the wrong kind is hard water. And then we put water softeners in our homes to get rid of the hardness.
What about this? Today, one of the big sellers in supermarkets is filtered water treated. What are they doing with it?
Well, it depends on which water you buy. There has been times in the past, reports on TV where some of these bottled waters were filled from a sink over in Scotland or England or something like that, and it wasn't filtered any more than your ordinary tap water coming out of the tap.
Well, my favorite water at one time was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. No, Latrobe, Pennsylvania.
Latrobe.
And it was in, what was the name of the beer?
Rolling
Rock.
Rolling Rock, yes.
Rolling Rock.
Yes.
Thanks to the audience. All
Yes.
right. And they moved. I'm a hillbilly, and one of the first beers I ever had was an Iron City out of Pittsburgh with my dad, and then Rolling Rock. And I liked it because it was from the pure waters someplace around western Pennsylvania. About 4 years ago, they left, and they went to New Jersey. And where did they get their water now? From the city water tap in New Jersey. That says a lot for me. I haven't had a Rolling Rock beer in years. So, but water, I'm glad that you are the water man in my life. And you, another chemist, but I want to tell my audience that you're in a very expensive kitchen. It costs more than the Mercedes on the streets. You've never cooked in here, you've just been planning to. You chop and cut, you cook.
Yes.
Is that the way it works?
That's the way it usually works.
Teamwork.
And let me ask you this. How many years ago did you become aware of the fact that there's food beyond fish and red meat?
About 6 years ago.
About 6 years ago.
Because of medical problems, I wanted to try to solve those problems with food.
Are you doing it?
I'm doing it. I'm doing great.
Well, let's talk about it. I'm not going to ask you. Well, yes, I'll ask you, Teresa, about your favorite cookbook. It's another 3-pounder and
That's
1,000.
not my favorite cookbook.
It's unfavorite.
It's my unfavorite, and I love it, and I feel badly saying it's not my favorite.
Well,
But I'll
what's the history of it?
Well, the history of it is this: the American Woman's Cookbook is from my mother-in-law, and I learned a lot about cooking when I was a newlywed from
in
this
those
book.
days, the woman of the house, the housewife, did the cooking.
Yes.
And all the books mostly were targeted at the female in the house, right?
Right.
And that's what, I love the title on this thing.
Yes, I do too. And I love that it has basic ideas and instructions for how to roast a roast, how to make a white sauce, all that good stuff that we used to eat all the time. But now it doesn't really have a whole lot for me. For vegetarian dishes, starts on page 351 and ends on page, well, not too many pages, about 10 pages later.
10 pages of
10
vegetarian
pages
food.
vegetarian food, whereas the meat and fish go from 190 something to 300 and something. So there's not a whole lot for me in here.
We don't have any roast odors in here, do we?
Roast
Odors.
odors. No, you
Will
won't
we?
find
Will
any.
we?
No, you won't. And you won't find any roast possum either, which is in here. You won't find any.
Are you against roast possum?
I just don't want to eat it.
Okay.
Roast squirrels, hare or rabbit salmi. I don't even know what it
Any
is.
rattlesnake?
I haven't seen a rattlesnake recipe in the American Woman's Cookbook. But
Fine.
I love this book, but I don't love it anymore.
All right,
so
now
much.
tell me this. What is your favorite cookbook
My favorite cookbook
today?
today is,
This is, I understand that today, this is one of your favorites. It may be your favorite, The Starch Solution, written by an MD, Dr. John McDonnell.
McDougall.
I too have this book in my collection, and the biggest thing to me is that he attacks fad diets, and there have been so many, thousands of them over the last 20 or 30 years that I've been writing. My favorite writer about diets and practitioner is Richard Simmons. His idea was that he wanted to solve the problem. He used to say, diet. The first three letters are die. And he actually told me that in my profession that I could eat all I want as long as I worked it off. That's his solution to staying healthy. All right? Was he right?
I don't think so.
That's all right.
I don't think so. My father was a butcher. His father was a butcher, and we grew up eating meat all
Yes.
the time. Dr. McDougall grew up on a dairy farm, and by the age of 18, he had a stroke, and he went into medicine. He still limps. He's about 62 years old now. He still limps from that stroke. But he decided it was time to try to cure people rather than relieve symptoms.
Well, he's done a pretty good job.
Yeah, he
runs
sure has.
Besides writing books, he runs seminars that you all have attended. Where? It's Costa Rica? Where else?
He holds seminars in Santa Rosa, California, 5-day and 10-day seminars, and twice a year he holds one somewhere else, like Costa Rica. He's holding one in Hawaii this year. But what makes it so nice is all his information is available on his website. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to subscribe to
I'm
anything.
talking about cookbooks, ink
Yes.
on paper. Don't
Yes.
talk to me about websites.
All of his recipes.
Don't talk to me
Are
about
there.
recipes on websites either.
Okay.
All right. The thing I like about him is he is a practicing physician, and he actually runs a place and he sticks close by his patients in California. Whereabouts?
Yes, Santa Rosa.
Santa Rosa. All right, the one thing in here, he's got about 7 references throughout the book. It's 300 plus pages, 7 references to Dr. Atkins. I've always had a problem with Atkins in my business. He died, and the belief is that he died as a result of his own diets. I read that in some place. I don't know where I read that. But I brought with me the one book. I have it in my 96, but it's for teaching purposes only. And it's called Dr. Atkins' New Diet Revolution.
Yes.
See what I do? I put the X on. I want my students, my audiences to see this. I don't necessarily want them to buy it. I want to go to a public library and see if they can find it. He killed himself with red meat, and so I put a great big X on it to avoid it. But under this is actually one of my 96 books. I also have 4 books bonuses under the 96 on Atkins' diet, including Dr.
McDougall.
McDougall. I love that. All right. Tell me more about this guy. He was part of your training in the last 6 or 7 years, right? Was he the graduate course? Was he the graduate course?
I would say so, because we were already starting to follow the diet when we decided to go on his trip. And at that point, I realized that it wasn't just a vegan diet, it was a starch-based vegan diet. And really, this book helps put it all together for people who are new at it, who are just trying to follow what he teaches. Another important thing about McDougall is that he backs up all of his claims with citations of peer-reviewed medical research. So meeting him, having foods served, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks that were all acceptable to vegans, it was a real eye-opener to see that it's really possible to do it as a lifestyle.
What was his connection with a book called Forks Over Knives? You have that book.
We have that book over here.
Doug, you have it. Tell me about that book.
Well, there's 4 or 5 doctors in the United States that follow this type of eating, like Dr. Dean Ornish and Dr. Esselstyn. And Forks Over Knives is part of, to make it easier to switch to this type of eating, it's substitute this food for that food. That's the type of book it is. Like, instead of eating this, you eat that. It's a lot fewer calories. It's better for you, more fiber, more vitamins.
Well, McDougall mentions his book, but does he have a library? He has what do you call it, a live-in program?
Yes.
Is that right?
He has a 10-day live-in program.
Have you been to that?
No, I have not.
What is it?
He starts out by being your doctor. He takes blood samples and does a complete physical. And then at the end of the 10 days, he does it again. And he shows you what improvement you've made in that 10 days. They teach you how to cook. They teach you how to shop. They take you to a grocery store. And every day he has lectures on food and eating. And he has famous doctors and dietitians and people like that come in to do these lectures.
This is not like an institution to cure you of the gay or narcotics or booze, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all. But one of the reasons why we liked him was it was not a fad diet, and every claim he makes, he lists the citations in the literature. And being chemists, we went to the literature and read a lot of these papers.
Fad diets come and go. I love that. All right.
What I like about his diet is you can have as much bread as you want. Pretty much. I mean, he doesn't limit
Whole grain bread.
Whole grain bread. So he's not limiting carbs at all. So we eat lots of pasta, whole grain pasta, and there are lots of different whole grain pastas out there now. Quinoa is one of our favorites.
When he speaks of starch, he's speaking of corn, potatoes, sweet potatoes, that type of starch, not your other sugars.
Read that paragraph for me, the underline.
Okay. The best example of this negative effect of dieting is the once popular Atkins type low carbohydrate, high protein approach. These diets work by severe carbohydrate deprivation, which causes a state of illness.
You done good. All right.
I think we're on the right
Thank you a lot.
track.
And thank you for letting me come into your kitchen here. It'll never
You're
have
welcome.
any roast beef odor.
Well, thank you for coming. You're welcome here.
All right. Thank you a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.